You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Monday. Happy Moon Day. How's everybody's week starting under this Taurus moon? I'm certainly feeling like I got a slower start to the week, and that's kind of welcome under the Taurus moon. Really trying to take my own advice, listen to my body, slow down, and the Taurus moon invites us to do that. Really get comfortable, listen to the signals that our body is sending us. And I'm curious to know how your week is starting. So if you're watching this live or whenever you find this, let me know in the comments. We're going to do a quick live stream today because obviously it took me a little longer to get started, as I mentioned. And we have one major transit to go over. There we go. Got a new setup here with my phone, so I can't see part of the screen. It's a whole thing. But anyway, we're working with it. So the major transit we're talking about today, other than the Taurus moon, is Mercury squaring off to the north and south nodes. So if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, you can see on our chart here, Mercury is now at 26 degrees in Aquarius, and the north and south nodes are at 26 degrees in Taurus and Scorpio, respectively. So the nodes, for those of you who aren't familiar, are actually just mathematical points that represent the axis of the moon. But the north node in astrology represents the lessons we're here to learn, the directions we're heading in life. Our purpose, essentially. And the south node is our karmic past, the lessons we came into this life already knowing, the energy we feel very comfortable in. Actually, I just heard another astrologer describe it in this awesome way. The north node is the AA meeting and the south node is the bottle. So the south node is the thing that you're very comfortable doing. It feels easy to reach for, whereas the north node is that thing that pushes you out of your comfort zone, but ultimately brings you closer to your purpose, your best self. So when Mercury squares off to these 2 points, it actually happened exactly at about 4 a.m., but we're feeling this energy throughout the day. It can feel like our thoughts, the way we communicate, our words, are conflicting with our purpose. There's an awareness here because this is a T-square to the north and south node. Essentially, Mercury is forming the same angle to the north and south node. This could be new information that comes in that changes our perspective with Mercury in Aquarius, forces us to take that step closer to our purpose, or at the same time challenges us to step away from our comfort zone, our past. On a personal level, this just could make it feel like we're at a crossroads with how we're expressing ourselves, how we are showing up in the world, how we're thinking, how we're speaking. So we're going to be more aware of our style of communication today and how it plays into where we're at this point in our life. So, think about how you're communicating and give yourself credit for how far you've come. If you have done some work on yourself with your communication style, this is a great day to acknowledge how far you've come, acknowledge the changes you've made, the growth that you've seen, but also maybe set goals or think about how you could progress even further. This transit can also make talking or writing almost feel uncomfortable because We know that we're supposed to be here to say these words, to think these thoughts, but at the same time, it just doesn't feel comfortable to do so. And with Mercury and Aquarius, this is also an opportunity to ask ourselves, okay, how can we think differently? How can we speak differently? How can we express ourselves more authentically? And how can doing so bring us closer again to our purpose, to the direction we're trying to go in this life? So there could be a change of perspective today about how you're communicating that brings you closer to your highest self. Or this just could feel like a little bit of discomfort, like we know we're here to do something important, but we don't exactly have the words to express that. So just keep that in mind. Also, with Mercury and Aquarius, pay attention to any insights that come through, because again, these could be clues kind of forcing us or pushing us to take that step closer toward the direction we're supposed to be heading in this life. It's not going to feel comfortable though. This is a T-square, 90-degree squares. So if it doesn't feel comfortable, you're probably doing it right. Now let's talk about what's going on with the moon. So as I mentioned, the moon is in Taurus, moved into Taurus at midnight on Saturday night into Sunday morning. And I certainly felt the Taurus energy yesterday. I don't know about you, but I was basically glued to my couch all day yesterday with the moon in Taurus, really focused on physical comfort and rest. The moon is exalted in Taurus as well, so this is a place of comfort for the moon. We want to be physically comfortable in order to be emotionally comfortable when the moon is in Taurus. The moon already made a couple different connections, the first one being at 5 a.m., getting some support from Jupiter. So you might have woken up with a burst of energy or just an optimistic mood with the moon getting support from Jupiter in Pisces. We actually have a lot of supportive angles to the moon today, so although it might not feel like your energy is at its highest level, we actually should be able to, for most of the day, lean into a positive energy or a positive mood. So Jupiter certainly helped with that to start the day. Again, this was 5 a.m. Pacific time, so depending on where you live, you might have felt a burst of energy as you were waking up this morning, getting out of bed, and also optimism about being able to take on the day ahead. Then at 9 a.m. Pacific time, the moon formed that same supportive angle to the sun. So when the moon and the sun lock into this 60-degree angle, we can show up with confidence. It's like our external expression and our internal emotions are complementing one another. They're working well together. Now with sextiles, these supportive angles we're talking about, these are 60-degree angles, and they do require us to put in a little bit of effort in order to get the most out of the aspect. So when the moon and sun lock into the supportive angle, yes, we can be more confident. Yes, we can feel like our internal and external selves are working together, but we have to be willing to put ourselves out there. We have to be willing to lean into that energy. Self-care can actually help you show up with more confidence, compassion, empathy, and because the Taurus moon really favors self-care. So taking care of yourself can actually help you show up as a better version of yourself today. Even if you haven't quite felt the full potential of this transit, still the moon and sun are supporting each other as they're pulling away from this supportive angle. So make sure you're taking care of yourself, listening to your body so you can show up as your best self for other people as well. But the transit happening literally right now is a square between the moon and Saturn. This is kind of a downer. This is the only negative aspect we'll talk about with the moon today. So you can see on our chart here, the moon in Taurus at 19 degrees, squaring off to Saturn in Aquarius over here. And when the moon squares off to Saturn, this just puts a damper on our mood. It can definitely slow down the pace a bit, but it can also leave us feeling a little bit depressed or isolated. Saturn is a very restricting energy. It's a malefic planet in astrology, basically bringing more of that like negativity. But it also asserts boundaries. So this could look like you going along with your day. Things seem to be going fine, depending on how the Taurus moon affects you individually. And then something is happening midday that's kind of slowing you down, stopping you in your tracks, limiting your ability to feel good. don't let it get the best of you. The beautiful thing about moon transits is that they only last a couple hours. So for the next couple hours, if you're feeling a little down or just kind of doubting yourself, self-doubt is huge when Saturn is forming a negative angle to the moon. Remember, this won't last long, and ask, what are these emotions showing me? How can I use whatever's coming up for me? That's always the go-to if there's a negative transit. But also the moon is in Taurus, which is a very physical sign, which is why I think a lot of people are feeling tired physically, because the moon in Taurus wants us to be comfortable, slow down a little bit. So right now you might even be feeling physical fatigue or discomfort as the Taurus moon squares off to Saturn in Aquarius, or this just could look like doubt, negative thoughts. Again, it doesn't last too long, so if you're feeling this, you're not alone. There's a reason for it, and it's happening as we speak, 1 p.m. Pacific time. The final transit, or aspect, I should say, the moon makes today is yet another sextile 60-degree angle to Neptune in Pisces. So the moon is making all of these positive connections to planets in Pisces today, which is really nice, really helping our emotions work together with our sensitivity, which kind of sounds funny, but it really is this nice, like, nurturing, supportive, emotional aspect when the moon is connecting with these planets in Pisces. So other than the transit we're feeling right now, this square to Saturn, which is kind of, getting us in our head a little bit, making us doubt or making us feel tired, the rest of the connections with the moon today are very supportive. Tonight at 7 p.m., though, when Neptune and the moon lock into this supportive angle, again, we'll want to be comfortable, but we'll also want to kind of like check out into a fantasy. So this transit to me looks like curling up under a nice cozy blanket under this Taurus moon, or on your couch or in your bed, and then checking out of reality into a movie or a book or a TV show. That's going to feel really nice on this Monday night with the moon supporting Neptune. We can fantasize, we can lean into our imagination through those, books, TV shows, but we can also stay grounded in physical reality in our comfort zone with the moon in Taurus. This could also bring a spark of inspiration, actually. Sometimes letting our imaginations go wild by consuming different kinds of media or books or things like that can also inspire us to integrate that part of our mind into our everyday lives. So maybe look for a little bit of inspiration through outlets that inspire you tonight. And again, through all of this, physical comfort rules. Taurus moon wants us to be comfortable, so keep that in mind. And in the background, we still have Venus forming a conjunction to Mars, now in Aquarius. Both of them moved into Aquarius on Saturday night, so they're still transiting together for the next week or so. And we also have Mercury forming a nice flowing angle to Lilith. That was yesterday that angle was exact, but now that Mercury's pulling away from it, we're still feeling the energy. They're still within a degree of each other, helping us express ourselves a little bit more boldly. But with Mercury squaring off to the north and south node, be careful not to be too bitchy or too bold in your expression and your words, because that could actually create some conflict and bring you farther away from the direction you're supposed to be heading. So keep that in mind. Just something to think about. All right, let's do a wrap up, and then we will pull a card. And forgive me as I got to figure out this phone placement. It's like blocking part of the screen, so I can't see part of the controls. Anyway, my problem, not yours. Here's what's going on for us this Monday. Mercury is squaring off to the north and south node. This could bring a change of perspective, so be open to new information, and it could bring you closer to your purpose in life. It could force you to take that next step forward in the direction that you're supposed to be heading. But it could feel uncomfortable to do so. So you're really going to have to try to get out of your comfort zone in order to let that information come through or speak up in a different way than you normally do. The moon stays in Taurus throughout throughout the day, making some supportive connections this morning. Although we really want to be in our comfort zone with the moon in Taurus, support from Jupiter, support from the sun helped us show up with confidence and optimism to get the day going. But by midday, the moon squares off to Saturn, so there could be a lull of energy or a period of negativity or doubt. Just know that that will pass, and pay attention to whatever's coming up for you. It's not coming from nowhere. By the end of the day, the moon forms another supportive connection to Neptune, allowing us to get cozy and comfortable to end our Monday, but also check out into a fantasy, lean into a movie or a book, and get lost in it a little bit. Doing so could actually bring you some new inspiration. All right, now let's pull a card. Still pulling from my new Oracle deck by Rebecca Campbell, the Rose Oracle. Just been getting used to all these cards and loving them so far, so I figure we'll just keep pulling from this new deck together. So as always, as I'm shuffling, this is your time to ask questions. Let me know how you're feeling under the Taurus moon. Where is Taurus in your chart? And yeah, it's interesting when you start really tracking the transits and following along with them, especially the moon phases. It's a great way to track, how you feel during different parts of the month, because the moon phases are about a month each, or the moon cycle is about a month. So I always notice I feel a certain way under the Taurus moon because it opposes my natal moon and it squares my partner's moon. So, the reason that we track these transits every day is to be able to check into the energy, and it's definitely helpful. I think your moon is a great place to start when you're tracking the transits, because the moon moves so quickly and you can kind of pay attention to, okay, if, for example, if you're a Taurus moon and the moon is in Taurus, you're having your lunar return. Or if you're like me and you're a Scorpio moon, the Taurus moon opposes your natal moon. So you can kind of start to make some connections between your mood and what's happening with the moon. All right. What do we need to know? Ooh, this says the wastelands, sustainability, slow down, tend to your garden. Ooh, this is a good one. The wastelands. And it's a woman bending down with her head towards the earth, towards some water, but it looks like there's not much water in the photo. So let's see what it has to say. Here we are. The wastelands. There's an anonymous 13th century French myth in the form of a poem called The Elucidation that tells the story of a king who abuses the land he's supposed to be the guardian of. The king breaks the trust of the well maidens, the spirits who were guarding the wells of the land, and they flee. The waters run dry, the plants wilt, and the land, which was once rich and fertile, becomes barren, creating a wasteland. This is the most powerful card in the deck. It's a wake-up call for us to stop the destructive behavior that's resulting in us becoming brittle and unable to live in a sustainable way. The sacred feminine is abundant. She knows that the earth can provide for what we need and that she doesn't need to take more than she needs. She tends the earth around her and within her. She's the keeper of balance and the protector of all living things. The rose has seen civilizations come and go, empires rise and fall. In this card, she's delivering an urgent message to slow down and stop any way of being that's not sustainable, to release anything that's making us brittle, to tend our garden, our bodies, and the earth around us. What way of being is no longer sustainable for you? Ooh, definitely an ominous card. Definitely feels applicable to me. I don't know about you, but it's pretty spot on that we're pulling this under the Taurus moon, because as I've said multiple times, this is a time to slow down. This is a time to pay attention to your body. Ask what your body is telling you. Observe what your body is telling you. If you're feeling tired, give yourself rest. Okay? If you're feeling hungry, give yourself food. This is all about self-care and nourishment with the moon in Taurus, and specifically right now, as the moon is squaring off to Saturn, it could be revealing our limits or our boundaries. Where are we pushing ourselves too hard? So really pay attention to that and make sure you're giving yourself care under this Taurus moon. Make sure you're taking care of this beautiful vessel that you incarnated in that's carrying you through life. It's not invincible, and it's important to take care of the physical in order to really align with the spiritual or the cosmic or whatever it is that you believe in. So, of course, this is on a personal level, telling us to take care of ourselves, not to spread ourselves too thin, but also on a collective level, really speaks to taking care of the earth. And as we're getting closer to spring, this is really a time to think about the earth and think about how fertile the ground you live on is. What can you do to tend to the ground? Can you plant a garden? Can you plant some ground cover? Can you take care of the earth that is supporting you quite literally every day? So not only yourself, but your home as well. How can you take better care of the things that are carrying you through this life? Slow down, tend to your garden. That's our message today. And very much affirming me taking my time to come and do this live stream with you today. I love when that happens because, part of me can be a little hard on myself. Like, gosh, I have to be there at a certain time. People are relying on this. But the important thing is to flow through life, right? I don't want to show up here if I'm feeling barren, if I'm not feeling inspired. So just really grateful that I pulled this card, really confirming my choice to take it slow today. So I appreciate you being here as well, showing up for me regardless of the time, showing up for yourself, showing up for this community. We'll be back at our normal time tomorrow morning to talk through the transits. Mostly going to be about the moon tomorrow. We don't have a lot of major connections throughout the week, or at least through the next couple days. And also tomorrow, we have another episode of The Spiritual Journalist, where I am interviewing someone with a really incredible story. She's had 2 near-death experiences that completely changed her outlook on life, encouraged her to go to medical school. Now she's an intuitive doctor. I'm super looking forward to this conversation. So that will be tomorrow at 1 p.m. Follow me on Instagram or on YouTube for updates about how you can tune in. Thank you so much for being here, starting your day with me. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your Monday, and I will see you right back here tomorrow morning. But until then, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.